So if everyone does see my slides, then actually so my example for this week's topic would be of American football, or like actually how the stimuli and responses which happen in game can be um, can be interpreted as sign processes according to Morris, and also I um, simultaneously I also uh, I also use a Peircean approach as well, which is sort of parallel with Morris's, although if it's not really about stimuli and response, but it's how perception, so how certain things, and so how information emerges from perception, I would say. Okay, so so that would be it. Okay, so first of all, for those who are not aware with aware of the rules of American football, like, by the way, are there anyone who is? Is there anyone who is
A little bit.
sort of a picture? Oh, splendid. Okay, so for those who are not, this game is mostly about a continuous fight between an offensive team and a defensive team. Of course, the offensive team has the ball and its goal to get it to the end zone on the at the end of the field on the defense the defensive team side. And each play starts with a so-called snap, which you can see here when the ball is handed by a guy called a center to the quarterback, who can see here in number 7. And then of course the quarterback can hand over the ball to another player who can run with this, or he can pass it forward, and then another player could catch it. So these are the basics in a very so in nutshell. So the offense starts the game with a so-called snap, and the offense wants to advance with the ball, and of course the defense wants to protect the advancement of the offense. So the quarterback gives a sign for the snap, but before he does this, he reads the defense. This is the actual term used by coaches and experts, that the quarterbacks read the defense. So why is it called reading? Because they're trying to find out that whether the defensive players would attack the line of scrimmage, this blue line here, meaning that they are playing aggressively, or they are covering a deeper zone, or whether they cover the receivers man to man, or whether the individual defensive player cover a territory instead of covering a particular offensive player, and so forth. So because the point is, if you know what your opponent is up to, you have won, because you can find out the weaknesses of their strategy in advance. So this is why it's called reading, because it's actually means that the quarterback interprets defensive lineup as a sign of what they are planning. And of course, the defense does the same. The defense is also reading the offense and trying to find out what is, what are they up to. So in terms that these, stimuli, these perceptions gained through this reading process is actually sort of influences or modifies the behavior, and from a more from even from a very sharply Mauritian perspective, and it is about the satisfaction of a need or reaching of a goal in this case, quite in a literal sense, that you can reach a goal or reach the end zone, and which means you can score and you can win the game if you do it multiple times. So so actually, the defensive lineup and the defensive personnel, which means what kind of players are there in the defense, can be regarded from Morrison perspective as a preparatory stimulus. So even if there are no actual actions following, for instance, because the referee stopped the play for some because of some whatever. So I'm sorry, I forgot about it. So if the referee stopped the play, or if the clock runs down, so there will be no actual snap, which means there will be no actual play, which means there will be no actual response. This is still, the anticipation is still there. So then, the disposition for response is still there. So it's still signification from Morris's perspective. From a Persian perspective, of course, this, I mean, like the perception of the defense from the cornerback side is surely belongs to the first. Because first of all, it is iconic, because that the quarterback compares the defensive lineup with the ones seen in the pregame analyses. So this is that, and the decisions are made, or like the stimuli are generated by this comparison, by the similarities or differences with these this pregame analysis is definitely an iconic thing, and it also belong or can be theorized as an immediate interpretant, because it is just like the very very basic, very very immediate reaction. Also, the reading also contains this evaluating of matchups, which means that the quarterback evaluates what are the the head-to-head in the head-to-head duels between two players, which of these matchups the offensive player is likely to lose, and which of these are likely to win. Actually, this is already a situation of the disposition to respond, because they are already, paying attention to what they are gonna do against the defense. For instance, here you can see a player indicated with number 4, and there is an epigraph LB indicating the defensive player facing Nelson, the receiver, which means that in this matchup, the defensive player is a linebacker who are generally bigger and slower players compared to wide receivers. So, for instance, this is a matchup which the defensive player likely to lose because receiver can simply beat the defensive player by his sheer speed, his raw speed. So it's all already a disposition to respond. Then okay, the information is that I should check that route because there is very likely to be an uncovered man there. So it's actually trying to find out where the uncovered receivers will likely to be. So and this preparation for response sometimes actually contain countermeasures, which is like already sort of an actual response, or a sort of part of the actual response. For instance, the so-called pre-snap motion, when the quarterback orders one of his teammates to change his position before the snap. For instance, you can see an analysis that how the play is prepared with this pre-snap motion of the number 17 receiver, that how defense got misleaded, and how the offense prepared for the implementation of the plan with this change. So from a Persian perspective, it belongs to the field of the second, since it is definitely indexical. It is like the perception is interpreted in an existential relation or in a physical relation, and that it is a dynamical interpretant in the Persian sense. Okay, so and then after the snap, the response sequence, the actual response sequence starts, like if it does start, of course, because if there is a foul, it maybe won't start at all. So this response sequence is initiated by the defense's actions as preparatory stimuli. So the response to the stimulus object, which is the actual behavior, the actual tactics of the defense, perceived as a goal object, or like the goal object is actually the goal of beating the defense. For instance, the quarterback here also reads the defense after the snap, which means he reads the routes one after the other. The number 1 read means this is the route the quarterback checks first, and then number 2 then he checks second, and so forth. So there is this hierarchy of options, and it's this reading is already a part of the response sequence. Also, Morris also talks about intervening responses to supporting stimulus objects. which means that certain actions of certain defensive players are also interpreted in preparatory as preparatory stimuli, such as the linebackers, the outer linebackers movement here, the guy in the red circle with number 71, that if he goes to the center of the field, then the quarterback, the guy who is in the yellow circle, who that the arrow indicates that he's watching the guy in with number 71. Then he keeps the ball and runs for himself. And if this guy, this is the 71 guy, advances in the other direction, then he hands off the ball to the running back, because that's the way to beat the defense. That is why when there will be an uncovered man. So it's actually the decision is made as a response. Also, I'm advancing the end. So that is the goal object, which is, like, from Morris's perspective, removing the state motivating the response. For instance, but this also depends on the context. For instance, in here, which is indicated in the slide, it's a very crucial play situation that the offensive team is down toward the end of the game, so they have to do this fourth down with this risky pass, which is shown here, which would, in other context, would be definitely regarded as too risky, but in this situation, it had to be risked and had to be done. Because this was the way, to remove the state motivating the response. From a Persian perspective, it is definitely a third, which is that the signification relies on necessity, and it's also a final interpretant, which means it employs strategic answers to the concrete situation in the context of the game. And also, the whole game can be interpreted as a context of a behavior family, which means that a set of responses initiated by similar stimulus objects, and which can be terminated to similar or connected goals. In our case, it's the behavior family of football game, and the ultimate goal is, of course, winning the game. And what we can see here is the so-called play calling sheet, which the coaches use to choose the next play from, according to the current or to the actual game situation. So then actually we can say that so there is a stimulus, there is a disposition for response, which triggers a response sequence from the other team's side, which all belong to the behavior family of a football game. So the defense read by a QB is actually a sign. So the reading of the defense by a QB is actually a sign process from Morris's perspective, even if it doesn't trigger actual responses in any case. So so that would be it.